Welcome to our Better Way Thursday workshop tonight. We are so thrilled to be talking about data homemakers and the data storage and data protection. We have two wonderful speakers here from Dell Technology. First of all, we have Valentina Danielli, and she has an interesting background. She was an international cooperation officer for the Italian government, and then she had her own business working in international trade, but she had a great interest in working in tech, and so she moved into that area and has been working for Dell Technologies since 2017, and she is living here in Utah. And then I'm going to ask both of our speakers to introduce themselves a little bit more, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of their background. And then Marisol St. John is an honorably discharged Navy veteran, so she's got a very fascinating background, and she was working as a nurse until she moved into the IT industry. And she's also been working at the Dell Technology team for 5 years. So both of our speakers tonight have had backgrounds in different areas, but they made this transition into tech. So they're the perfect people to talk to us about what they're doing. And also they have a great understanding of what it's like to move from one career into another. So I'm going to go ahead and let the two of you take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the great introduction, Robin. I don't know, maybe it would be easier if you guys had questions for us, but I can share the passion that Robin was expressing in just being here with you, because we have been through that, and I don't think I'm done being designing my career journey. And sometimes I look back and, I think it's a quote from Steve Jobs, right? You can't make a picture and connect the dots looking forward. You can do it only looking backward, right? And so that's what sometimes I do, look backward and connect the dots and get this amazing picture, or maybe ugly one. I don't know. I leave it to you all to judge, but it's always very surprising. So and that's probably how I like it, right? I like adventure, and I like learning, and that's where these passions and these predispositions took me to really explore new avenues and take opportunities that when they were presented to me. Some things I looked for and sought after, some just fell my laps. And I do have to say that the IT industry, I started touching techs with when I had my own business. I was helping companies with international trade, and most of the projects that I helped with were for Internet of Things, or already a little wearables or tech products in some forms. And you have to learn the in and outs, right, to be able to help your customers, to have informed conversations, whatever your role. You don't need to be the engineer that designs it, right? But if you are in those conversations, you have to have an understanding of the technical aspects of things. And the passion grew from there, right? And it hasn't stopped. There's always something new to learn. And even those things that you think you really know well, every day they surprise you. There's more to be, explored, investigated, and learned. So it's very interesting. And I don't know, do you guys have any questions for me?
I'm guessing we're going to have a lot of things go on. Oh, who wanted to ask a question?
I'm so sorry. I can totally wait. I just had a question, but okay. Well, I guess kind of, so I have an interview this Tuesday for a position in IT, and I don't have a background in IT. I applied at my cousin's work there, and they're like, here, you want to get into tech, here, try out for this. And so they've offered me an internship basically, but I guess I'm kind of nervous for it. So like, I guess if you have any advice for like that very, very first step of getting into tech, like how to show yourself off, I guess, when you don't really even have the skill set yet to do that.
So yeah, I can try. We don't have the key for every interview, right? But there's general rules that you definitely can apply every time. And I'm sure that if you do, you'll walk out of the interview with, your chin up, sort of, you won't be defeated and like, I was not fitting there, that was not for me. And the first one for sure is to do a little bit of research. Right. Look into who they are, what they do, and try to understand a little better yourself, what you're putting yourself into. That will help you with your answers, but also with more informed questions if you have any for them, right? And then also try to get a little bit of knowledge. That doesn't mean that you're gonna go there in a week or in a couple of days with a full-blown skill in what they need, you know, whatever skills they're looking for, right? But you will be showing how you already are started on the journey of getting there and that you really want it. So that for sure will help you with confidence and with showing them your passion and your commitment. And all interview is different and depends on what role they look for, right? And what they want from for their business need and all that. So that's for sure something I recommend doing.
I kind of want to add a little bit to that too for Chloe. You know, my background was very robust. Imagine someone coming in with a nursing background asking for an IT job. I probably looked a little ridiculous when I was interviewing for those positions, asking, why are you moving? Right. So my experience with interviews in that sense is show your drive, show your passion. I had no experience. I had no understanding of what the IT industry was. And when I went to my interview for Dell, at that time it was EMC, the interview asked me, like, why should I hire you? You don't know anything. I was like, I may not know anything, but I have the willingness to want to learn. Like, I have the drive. You're not going to find anybody that's going to have this drive, this passion to understand what your business needs. If you say that, or you say something along the lines of saying that I'm going to be a sponge and I'm going to do everything you tell me to in order to be better, and they will give you a shot. And be honest, say, you know what, I may not have the experience, but I'll give the extra, whatever, 120% study, whatever I need to do. I will commit to that in order to get this position. If that's what you really want, right? Exactly what Valentina said. You have to know what you're walking into in order, you know, to feel that you can grow in that business. So as long as you show that passion, I'm sure you're going to be a shoo-in. Yeah.
Thank you to both of you so much. Thank you. I love both of your advices.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
Marisol, do you want to take a minute to introduce yourselves, and then you guys can go on with your presentation?
Oh, sure. Okay, so like I said, I was in the Navy for about 8 years. It was. I became a hospital corpsman that kind of led me into the medical industry, and I loved the medical industry. I thought I was going to be in the medical industry till the day I retired, right? And there was a point there where I noticed how much the medical industry clashed with the IT industry. It's so weaved in together. And the opportunity of me being able to have the versatility of having my nursing skills weave into the IT started to morph more into, I need to be in IT. I want to learn IT. That's where the medical industry is going, towards IT. And after I got honorably discharged from the Navy, I ended up pursuing a bachelor's degree in IT, you know, and really just going for it, learning everything that I could. Like Valentina said, just knowing that the IT industry was made for moms. That's why this presentation is called Data Homemakers, right? This industry is made for us because it's versatile. We can work our schedules around what the need is. And that's why another big reason why I wanted to be in IT, because being a homemaker is also very important to at least for me, right? So I ended up applying for Dell like maybe, like I said, 5 years ago, and I actually applied 3 times before I got a yes. And to show that drive, right? Like I said, you can't just take a no. And my personality and my likes is all about, I see what I want, I go get it. And that's exactly what the IT is. You write down a goal, you say, in 4 months, I'm going to get this certification. And it's all self-discipline. It really is. If you don't have those check marks of self-discipline that I'm going to go get this certification or that certification, you stop growing in this industry. and that's something you don't want to do. But you know, as far as my career path in this industry, it's been very exciting to be part of this business, to continue to grow, to learn. I'm a very adventurous person and I love knowledge. I really do. And I hope that you guys will get something out of this presentation, because Dell has really impacted my life in a very positive way. So.
All right. Do we have any other questions or something you guys are curious about?
I'm excited to hear what the data homemakers means. What is this?
Right.
What does this presentation mean for us tonight?
Yeah, we are trying to so the overview for tonight, let me start with sharing my screen. That might be just a good thing to do. And does everybody see? We do. Perfect. So just adjust this real quick. All right. So we prepared a few slides just to help the conversation along with, you know, a visual support, a little bit of information for you. We want to give you an idea of where everything starts from, where it goes. We want you guys to know a little better what Dell Technologies is as an organization, what it is in Utah, and what is the day-to-day, right? What does it mean to work there? If that could be something that in the future will interest you. So we can go ahead and get started. The first, I wanted to get started with a few questions like this picture, what does it tell you, right? Data, how do you use it? Does it affect you? Does it help you? Do you have anything that you feel or know about data? Okay, just always feel free to unmute if you want to participate. So if you want to answer anything, you can say what I use on the computer, what I get from my phone, right? Everything is valid because everything is data. It all goes into what we call big data lakes, which are this very large amount of bits and pieces of information in many, many different forms that have been collected from billions of digital interactions every day. And we are very much part of all that. And a great amount of raw data in different form is generated and exchanged every day, and it changes really, really fast. So we're able to somehow interact with this data just because of beautiful software that transforms this data in human readable and user-friendly formats. Otherwise, we would not be able to access any of that, right? So going back to our initial questions, we want to know, like, how do we really participate in all this? And how is this so important to us? Like these pictures might give you a visual crutch, right, on understanding what we're going with this. We are, with everything we do, almost everything we do nowadays, we are the main source of data. We generate very large amounts of it. And we also use it a lot. We analyze our data. Think about your wearable devices, or entertainment, gaming, your phone, right? And so you always manipulate, analyze, and use the data as well. And the data is also very important for us in making decisions, right? We want to use data to make informed decisions like you guys are doing. I keep using the term guys, right? We shouldn't probably, but being in tech, that becomes a habit. And it's going to change very soon, I'm sure. But if you think about what you're doing now, right? You're choosing your path, you're trying to understand what kind of education or training you want to get. You're trying to look for a job. You're exploring companies, and even deciding what you want to wear this weekend or what you're going to do this weekend is going to be based on information you get from these big data lakes. Think about yourself checking the weather app on your phone. That's making an informed decision based on data. So this very general overview can be brought to more of a quantifiable sort of understanding of data. And Marisol is going to be very good at explaining a little bit more about how much data, the magnitude of data that we manipulate and contribute to create every day.
Yeah, yes, I'm going to explain a little bit of, of the sizes of data that we use. I mean, we have this infographic that kind of goes over the sizes of data we use on a daily basis. I wanted to ask a question to the group. How many times do you guys use Google in a day? Can you think about that? Yeah, that's a lot, right? I see Robin making a face. Yeah, it's a lot of times that we use Google. That is all data. It is everywhere, literally. When you think about Google searches on a global scale, and think about that number of how many times someone goes and types google.com and makes the searches, what would be your guess as far as how many of those searches would made globally in one day? Anybody? Oh,
it's got to be so many.
Yeah, it is so many, right? It is. That's right. So many. Thank you for participating. So that's I can never say that word. Statistical value is about 5 billion searches were made globally in one day. 5 billion. It's pretty impressive, right? And if we go down the list of this infographic, it will kind of quantify how much data we actually use in one day. Twitter, there's 500 million tweets being sent globally on a daily basis. This is now. This isn't 10 years ago. This is now, right? And also, if you think about emails, how many emails do you personally send in one day? On a global scale, statistics show that there's 294 billion emails sent in one day. I mean, the list goes on and on. Facebook, for example, 4 petabytes of data are created just on Facebook. 4 petabytes. So it's pretty extraordinary, the amount of data that we use, right? And I also wanted to, sure, Robin, you have a question?
What is a petabyte?
So a petabyte, so if you can think about what a gigabyte is, a gigabyte is 1,000 megabytes, and you times it by, I think it's a million. Now I'm gonna look it up.
I think is what 18 zeros.
Oh, I just looked it up.
It's one with 18 or 21 zeros.
So 1 petabyte equals 1,000 terabytes. Yeah. Yep. So just think about how much data that is. And they actually, statistically, they believe that by the year 2025, we're going to use 463 exabytes globally every single day. It's pretty amazing, right? And if you want to see that in a visual scale, that's actually about 212,765,957 DVDs that are being created. That's what 463 exabytes of data look like. So you guys can kind of quantify that in your mind. Okay, so where do you think this data goes?
That was my question, because a lot of it gets stored. Nothing on the internet really goes away. And so where does it get stored?
Exactly. Where does it get stored, right? That's where this data homemakers comes in, right? So do you think this little question mark here is in the form of a cloud? Do you guys think it goes to the cloud? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, what is the
Servers.
cloud?
Servers. and stuff
Servers.
too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
correct. The cloud is servers, but what does that mean? Like, So when you create, when you guys are, I know there's quite a few programmers in this group. So, but when you guys create anything on an app, or save anything on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, right? It goes to the cloud. But when it's in the cloud, what happens to it? Does it disappear?
No.
No, because
No.
no, those companies have promised to you that they will keep your data forever and ever and ever until you decide to delete your account, right? So let's go into that. Where does data actually live, right? Let's go into that. So data does live in the cloud. What does that mean? Well, it means that it goes into a giant room that is called the data center. Marketably, it's called the cloud, but it really is a data center that has a bunch of servers. Those servers have physical hardware like disks, cables, and a network that receive your messages and data. And you know what? In order to keep this running, this is managed by people, by staff, by women, by men, all those type of people where, you know, so when you say IT and you think of IT, this is what you see in your head, right? Everybody knows what this is. Everybody loves the IT crowd, right? Funny show. Yeah, but honestly, because of the quantity of data that we're talking about, data has moved IT in a different direction. It's totally changing the entire infrastructure of the IT industry, right? So we have to have big infrastructure to support the cloud or the data center. You know, IT industry has become more than just a laptop or a printer or server support, right? I kind of want to have now let Valentina work with you so you can see what we're talking about when I mean that the IT industry has changed. So I'm going to give it back to her.
Thank you, Marisol. That was amazing. Yeah, it's a common joke, right, in our space, to hear people saying like it goes to the cloud, like it disappears there, or it fluctuates in the void, right? And where we know what's behind all that. So that was a very amazing parallel. And yeah, and the IT crowd was just a joke, but it kind of like works the same way. If I say Dell, what comes to mind? What do you think if I say Dell?
Computer.
Right. Laptop, computers, Michael Dell, right? That's all Dell, but Dell Technologies has grown and changed so much in to grow and become the organizations that it is today, that I think it's worth having a little bit of a deeper look at what this company really is and what it does. Just to give you an idea, this unique family of businesses helps companies with their infrastructure and with the most important asset that they have, which is information and data. Dell does it with the customer and consumer group, the laptop division that we just mentioned, right? But with the acquisition of Dell EMC, Dell became even more focused on the enterprise storage side of things. And there's a number of other companies like Pivotal for cloud platform, RSA and SecureWorks are cybersecurity companies, and Native Cloud cybersecurity company for SecureWorks. VirtuStream is cloud computing and management as a software, and VMware is hardware virtualization, which could be probably identified with a different form of cloud, right? Virtual machines and all that fun stuff that can leverage hardwares and take it so much farther than their physical space. So all this composes Dell Technologies, which is way more than support for laptops. If you go and navigate to Dell Technologies homepage, you find this picture, and that tells you a little bit of what image we want to project. And you see a woman in space saying pushing technology so you can go farther. And if you double click in about us, it says there's a mission statement. It says that it reads, the digital future is where human progress is transformed by technology. Dell Technologies is committed to transforming businesses, shaping the future of innovation, and developing technologies to drive human progress. Hearing that, you might think that's very ambitious, and those are all big words, but what does it really mean? And I wanted to give you a snippet and look into what the kind of industry that we work with, we support, and that we help just make the next change in our world and for human progress. You see here energy and renewables, healthcare, education at all levels, government, security, and those are all pieces of the puzzle and people that we work with, and we help them achieve goals every day. So it is very exciting to be in this space with these companies. And another way in which Dell Technologies makes all these big words a reality is with these, what we call the Moonshot goals, 2030 progress made real goals. We want to advance sustainability, so a lot of focus on environment, recycling, and cultivating inclusion, where we want a diverse and inclusive workforce and society that so we impose that on supplier, customers, and transforming lives. So we want to really do something meaningful for the betterment of our world and our lives in general. And this is also, go ahead. Is there any questions or comment? Okay. And I want to show another sort of like proof on how all this is made real. This is our building in Draper, Utah. So this is where Dell Technology is Dell EMC in Utah. Maybe you've seen it. It's right by I-15 and by the Vista station for the red line, I think. I come from east, so I don't take the tracks, but I think it's the red line. So you might have seen the building, and this has been constructed with a lot of energy-saving architectural designs. So that's another way, like even in the buildings that the company builds, we want to keep the attention on the energy saving and environmental impact that the company has. There's a mini data center in here, which we take customers for tours and we train engineers in. So it's an interesting building to visit. As Trina was saying, that we want to have a tour of the facilities once COVID allows, right? For now, the building is empty and it has been for about a year. We moved to remote work when COVID hit, like most of us, experienced the same thing. But it's an interesting space, and inside there are a lot of collaborative spaces and places where we have a lot of communal activities. And there's a very strong identity for the team that works here in Utah. So, and to contribute to that identity and that team building, we have the work that we do with the ERGs. If you joined the call early, you might have heard Trina talking about this. We have 13 ERGs. ERGs is an acronym. We have a lot of acronym in this world, but it stands for Employee Resource Groups. And these are interest groups that promote interest in general. Like you can see, maybe by just mentioning a few, you can understand a little better without going too much in details of what we might do within one specific ERG. You see Planet, Pride, Veterans and Supporters, Family Balance, which is the ERG that Marisol and I represent here tonight, and Latino Connection. There's something for everyone. And we use the ERG as a communal space, to meet, volunteer, help the community, and make each team member's experience a little bit of a better experience within the company and at work. from here, this is a bit of a general overview of Dell Technologies and Dell Technologies as Dell EMC in Utah, and about a little bit about the company culture and who we are. Marisol is going to take you even deeper into Dell Technologies Utah, and she's going to explain what we do. So brace yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so I know you guys are curious about what is it like to really work a day in the life for Dell, right? So for Dell, me and Valentina are part of a group called like it says on the slide, Infrastructure Storage Group. What does that mean, and what does that group do, right? So on a day-to-day, when you get there, this group is a group that manages and troubleshoots any part of the customer's data center environment. That's every part of the data center environment. The products that our customers have in these data centers, they're based off of our commercial and enterprise arrays and servers, and we support those in every aspect. When we work in this environment, we tend to call a customer's data center their environment. So if you hear me refer to that as their environment, I'm speaking in general about a server, a switch, a host, and an array, right? So as engineers, we work together very collaboratively with different departments to get an effective solution. There's puzzles with every question a customer addresses to us. There's planning, there's deployment, there's teams that manage that type of deployment, right? There's the support teams, the engineering teams. There's so many aspects for us to be in a data, to make this work because of how big and robust this group is, right? So I kind of wanted to also comment that since we deploy big servers and environments like that, we tend to, stick our fingers in different pots. Like we also help our federal sites. Our federal sites have a lot of special planning, and because they're located in SCIFs, I don't know if you guys know what a SCIF is. It's basically a cutoff room from the world. We also support them in a very special way. So there's a lot of growth in this group, right? I kind of wanted to talk to you about some components inside of a data center so you can see why the troubleshooting is so robust and complex, right? I'm going to give you a very, very high overview what is in the cloud, so you can kind of understand what it would be like to troubleshoot these type of items if you were working with Dell, right? So let's start, right? So if you see these two acronyms, right, there's a NAS and then there's a SAN, right? So a NAS is a network attached storage. If you guys have any questions while I speak, feel free to interrupt me because there's a lot of information. Also, a SAN is a storage array network, right? So those things make up a cloud, but then there's a little bit more, right? So a cloud has servers, it has cables, it has switches, it has routers, right? It also has networks, like I mentioned earlier, where the backbone of receiving messages and data, right? So within the data center, and at Dell, we create the infrastructure that is called these acronyms that we see throughout the other teams that I mentioned in the other slide. We create the infrastructure for this type of environment to, exist. So I'm going to go over really quickly what a NAS is first, and then what a SAN is first, so you can kind of understand what I'm talking about, right? So a NAS, a network attached storage, it has multiple hard drives in a configuration that we call RAID, right? It's a series of redundant disks in an order that kind of keep things from not failing, right? Anyway, so the NAS is set for
Marisol has so much to say about this that she doesn't know where to stop. So
that's true. I'll keep going, and if you guys want me to be quiet, just raise your hand. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so I'll keep going. So the NAS basically means that all the information is set in a centralized location and is able to be shareable. I'll minimize it a little bit more. So it will be across a network, right? So that's what a NAS is. On the other side, a SAN is based across a whole network as well, but it's not shareable. The SAN is connected to, again, host, server, switches, and an array, which is our product. And those servers see the space as a local disk, even though that disk is off-site in one of these data centers. So I just wanted to share that with you so you guys understand that when you do work here in a day-to-day process, these are the things that you're going to be troubleshooting piece by piece, to get, you know, just so you can understand where we're coming from as the data homemakers part, right? And all these things can be accessed anywhere from any location of that person's network, right? I think I talked a lot about
Yeah,
that.
no,
So
and it's very exciting because
yeah,
beyond, you know, the understanding of exactly what is what and how it works, which comes with you know, a little bit of knowledge and a lot of time,
right,
in
right,
most instances, right? The exciting part about it is, like, if you think of this as, but what do you mean, right? Means every time you search for a product on Amazon, that's where that product is. Like, we have these connections and these paths and these files that contains
right,
all that information, that in this split second that you experience with your mouse in front of your computer, you get that random thing that you're looking for on Amazon, and that you just type in and pops up on your screen, right?
right,
Behind it, there's this journey to the data center, inside the disk, in the little block where this stuff is written, is retrieved,
right,
handshakes out of the protected zone that Marisol just described.
right,
And you basically went in the data center, fetched the data, and if there's an issue, that's when they come to us and we basically fix Amazon for you, or help a hospital keep the imaging department running. If someone needs to have an image taken and analyzed by a doctor, we allow that stuff to happen, and that service never to stop for the end user.
right,
So at a way higher level than what Marisol described, it's a very interesting
right.
environment to
Dynamic,
be in.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I got a little carried away there because I get really passionate about my job, right? And I kind of want to go into how do you get to the position where you can start a job or, you know, a career here? How do you uh, get in the door to start working at Dell? First, I mean, one of the certifications that we do recommend you to look at is the Information Storage Management certification, or the ISM as it's called in another acronym. This one's going to teach you how to navigate the data center components that I mentioned earlier. It's going to, you know, teach you all about networking, storage, host, topology, data protection, and redundancy. The test is 80, 80 questions about multiple choice. So not too bad, but it does cover a lot of the high overview I just gave you when I got super excited about sharing my job. So yeah, the other thing is these type of components that I mentioned in the last slide, they usually use a language called Linux. So I hope you guys have heard of Linux. It's a scripting language, a bash shell language. Um, there are a lot of number of industry recognized certs that, you know, test your knowledge in the proficiency of the language, and we do use it at Dell Technologies on a day-to-day basis. So if you just decide you want to learn a little bit of Linux, it will set you apart to get yourself into that door of, you know, learning these type of components. There's many other certifications you can go off, you know, go after. Like Valentina mentioned in her slide with Pivotal and VMware and all those other companies that Dell associates with. Uh, those are some certifications you could look at, especially VMware, anything with CSS and HTML, PowerShell, OpenStack. We tend to use all these type of languages, and of course, you know, some different aspect of the way we manage and support our customers as engineers. Anyway.
Marisol, can I ask you a quick question?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Let me get my microphone up here again. So the information storage management certificate, is that an internal, that's specifically to Dell, or is that a more industry-wide certificate?
It's an industry-wide recognized certificate. So if you do have that, they understand that you understand the back end of the beautiful internet we use every day. Yeah.
I love it. And where do you get that training? Is that something that we can find anywhere, or is it through only certain locations? Like, how do we get the training, and then how do we get the
So the certification is a paid certification that you can go sign up for. The actual training, if you were part of Dell, obviously we would kind of facilitate that. But there is a industry standard book that is called the ISM. I know it sounds a little, to the point, but that's what it's called. Yeah. Yeah. And then if you guys decide to do self-study to learn about all the stuff that I mentioned in the slide, it's such a good, robust book that it does take you well enough prepared to take that certification. Yeah. Yeah.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Marisol, it's offered at the either UVU or some other university has courses, like you can get credit courses, and the training takes you to be prepared for the certification at the end of it, or within the course. I think you can take the certification.
Right. Yeah, Valentina is correct. They offered it there, and then we have a colleague that used to teach the class at a SLIC, Salt Lake Community College. So
if we're more of a self-study and independent learner, we can do it on our own, just through the book and maybe free online resources. But if we do better in a classroom with a teacher and instructor, that there are other ways that we can find this.
That's how I did it.
Yes. Valentina's very much a self-starter, so she got that all on her own.
It was my 4 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. morning for like 3 months. It was fun.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. But yeah,
sorry, Marisol.
So you're totally fine.
We have a lot of women who want to continue their education, continue their training, but they do need to be working as well. And so they're combining that education with the working at the same time. And so with that ISM certification, is that enough to get a very entry-level job at Dell? Is that enough to start, or would you need a combination of several things to just get your foot in the door?
No, the ISM will pretty much get you the foot in the door. The only reason I mentioned the other certifications, it would just set you apart, like, oh, this person has drive, right? But if you have your ISM and you show that passion that I kind of told to I think it was Chloe that asked the question earlier. If you show that willingness, that you're willing to work hard and you have that drive to learn, they will very much give you an opportunity. Yeah. So yeah. And but yeah, if you really wanted to work there and you can at least show a proficiency of Linux, say, well, this is what that means when you type basic commands, that will actually push you a little bit more into the door too. So yeah. Well, I know we've talked a lot to you guys, and I'm happy for those who participated, but do you guys have anything that you want us to share? Stories, anecdotes, experience, whatever you want us to share, we're willing to, help out and answer questions. I hope we generated some interest and curiosity. This is our entire world right now, and every day we get excited about our professional growth and our technical growth. So we're really excited to talk to you about that if you haven't noticed.
It looks like Jennifer Smith has a question. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Hi, thank you. Okay, I'm just wondering if you can tell us about what your actual job description is called, and if there are different things, like if we applied to Dell in this area, are there 2 or 3 different ones, and what are the maybe entry level as well as 5-6 years down the road salaries for those? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very very good question. So for the entry level, the company in Utah is quite big, so there's different areas that you can look into. We do have positions called analyst. And for those positions, mostly in the department that helps with deployments and scheduling, right? There's several position always openings there. And then for the tech support area, which is where Marisol and I both work, and there's different position. Entry level is technical support engineer, and that's where the job description would be pretty much what we described here in this presentation. So you would have, you know, your soft skills, which are very important because you have to, in almost all the positions at Dell, you will have to be sort of customer facing, and project management analyst or tech support will be talking to customers. So there's a component of soft skills that we always look at. And those are transferable from industry to industry, and you can really leverage those. Then you can, you always will find some sort of technical requirement, as we mentioned, the ISM. That gives you basically a foot in the door because you show how you understand what we're talking about and what we do on a day-to-day. And then it deep dives from there to the Bash language that we mentioned, the Linux, other languages that you might know, experiences of any kind in the tech industry, including this bridging program, or project you've worked where you were part of an engineering team, even if not the leading engineer necessarily, right? So for these entry positions, anything sort of goes as a technical experience on top of the industry specific and storage specific description that we gave. And then there's the project management department, where also the ISM is very important for those, like I was mentioning at the beginning, conversations that you have with customers when you help them with defining a deployment project or a purchase. And there's a small team of sales as well. So we just came out from a hiring freeze. So there are several positions open now. So you can very much go onto their website, pull up the open position and look at the job descriptions, and you'll see that some of the requirements that we mentioned here are also described in those job descriptions.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat. Is a bachelor's degree required? Not necessarily. It does put you in the forefront of the hiring process, but it is not required. We have several people in our group that are finishing up college and have applied and showed that they have their ISM, or they're in the process of getting that certification and have worked with us for several years. So you don't need your bachelor's degree, but the salary is very depending on your experience as well. If you have a little bit of IT experience, they will base off where you start off. We can't really quantify a number because it depends necessarily on what you are gonna bring to the table when you have that interview, and they kind of start you off there. But it's a very competitive market. They are very aligned with the market. So if you look at the average of this of IT engineer in Utah, you're probably right on point.
Right, and as a hiring manager, I'm telling you that there's depends on the department and what you apply for, right? But mostly, if you have 2 years of college education, that's pretty much the minimum requirement. For some position, they can, in tech support, I think that's a minimum requirement. If as a hiring manager for my department, 2 years is a minimum requirement, yeah. But as an analyst for the dispatches and other service desks, that's not a requirement. So also, according to your specific situation and what you have to offer, you can explore different positions and see what would be a better fit for you. But if there's something that you look into that is really your target, some minimal requirement will be listed for, and you'll have to, and you'll have to have those.
Right.
Jennifer, I want to jump in here and tell you a little bit about the specific salaries, just to speak to that. I've been working with a tool all weekend to look at average salaries in some of these roles. It's called ONET, O-N-E-T, and it's a government tool. And so you can look up specific occupations. So this tech support engineer, IT, software engineer, whatever, the specific things that we're talking about. And it gives you salary ranges that are average across the state and even within the region like Salt Lake County or Utah County. And so I think that would give us a better sense of the ranges that we're talking about. As Marisol said, it was competitive with the other ranges. So that'll give us a specific idea. I'm going to go look this up tonight and get some more specifics for you. So I have a question. This is something that I have this idea of IT, and I always am thinking more of hardware with IT. Like when you're talking about servers, and I'm like, are they going down with cables? I told you I'm the least technical person in this room. So are we going down with cables and pulling out hard drives and doing other things? But since you're working all remotely, it sounds like your day-to-day is really just using your keyboard and your screen, right? That's how you're doing this work.
Yes, correct.
Never touch the box, right,
Yeah.
Marisol?
Yeah. I mean, the day-to-day is definitely being more of a remote type of service person. My role is as a mentor. I mentor and teach. Yes, as I love it, obviously. I love teaching. So, but yeah, my day-to-day is coaching those engineers and telling them, this is what you have to do and helping them in difficult situations. But yeah, it's all remote work. That's why, we named the presentation Data Homemakers. We can be 100% IT 8 to 5, and then in between, walk away for a second to be mom. And then at night, be 100% mom. So and not really take away from your home environment, depending on, what you're interested in. So yeah, you are correct. We've never really touched a box.
And the other thing that, like you mentioned, Marisol, right, is having colleagues and people on the floor that are like you. Like for me, Marisol was a godsend. Like I really thrived in my job because of people like her, specifically her, but people like her, right? You can recognize yourself in your colleagues, and if you can count on them. If you have a commitment or a challenge, you have to run home. You look at these people, ask for their help, and they have your back. And it's a great feeling that you don't find everywhere at work, but here is really a thing. And as I said, it's changing really fast. There's a great drive into diversity and inclusion and incrementing the number of women that participate in this industry, because we have a lot to give, and we can do it while giving to our families and to the society as well, because we also have this great commitment and mission of raising the next generation, which is something we love to do, but we also have to do. Yeah. And this kind of jobs allow us to be there to do both. I'm not talking about having it all, because we already know by now that that doesn't exist, but we can do a lot, and the environment you're in helps a lot with what you can achieve and how healthy that achievement can be, free of guilt. And as you said, like you really have a support system within the workspace, which is priceless.
I love that point that you both made. And that's one of the things that we find among so many of our tech moms, is that most of our women are coming because they're looking for greater flexibility, and they want that ability to have the job, but also have the freedom to step away for a minute if they need to, or schedule around things and then catch up on their work later and things like that. So I love that you're helping us understand that this is a place where that sort of work is possible, and also with the support of your colleagues. So that's wonderful. Okay, we just have another minute or two. Anybody have any final questions? And after that, we can turn it back to Valentina and Marisol to wrap things up for us. So go ahead, and you could put it in the chat, or just go ahead and talk, or raise your hand. But any final questions?
I think Shannon has a question. Yeah.
I was going to say, I wonder if there was something early on where you were starting out, and something came up and you thought, wow, I wish I'd known that before I started, or I wish I'd studied this before I started? If there are any situations like that.
Well, for me particularly, what I wished I knew was how to, always be a sponge and learn. Because I struggled with having to start at an entry level position, coming from a nursing background and being kind of in the middle of the pack, and then starting at the bottom. You really have to learn to be humble when you come into the IT industry, but not be intimidated. Does that make sense? Because when you're gonna go in there, you're not gonna be the smartest person in the room, and you're not gonna know everything. Even now, I don't know everything. I constantly study. I constantly read manuals. I'm always trying to keep up with the technology. So I wish I would have. I wish I would have known that I needed to be humble and I needed to have, that challenge in me. But yeah, so as long as you're willing to have that adaptability and say, you're not going to intimidate me. I'm going to do the hardest customer facing call, and you're going to help me throughout the way because that's your job. That will set you apart. Definitely.
That's such a great response. I just thought of a question. I know that you have moved completely remote because of COVID. Or will there be options for continued remote opportunities after the pandemic is kind of settled down? Or do you think that everyone will be moving back full-time to the office?
No, there's a great movement in Dell Technologies around work from anywhere. Specifically, now we are all remote. And we are building, even changing our physical locations to accommodate the work of the future. So absolutely it's been a very sudden transition when COVID hit, but it was a transition that was already started and that won't stop. So absolutely the opportunity is there, and the company has that as a mission to make that possible for Dell Technologies and for other companies as well, because we support a lot of our customers in making that real and efficient for them as well. So absolutely.
That's so helpful because we do have women from all over the state. So to know that they don't necessarily need to live right next to Lehigh to have opportunities, or right next to Draper,
Exactly.
excuse me.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, any other final questions? And if not, we'll go ahead and wrap things up.
Yes, yes. Can I ask a couple? Sorry about being so late.
Go for it.
What is the transition like from technical support engineer to like a junior software developer role? What would you recommend? It's probably a long question for now, but I'm curious.
So within the company, you mean?
Yes,
or
yes, within the company.
We do not do much software development.
Okay.
We do that within the product development.
Okay.
So most of our software development is built around the product, the hardware product, and the management of that product and that itself, and the product within the environment it operates in. So there are software development within product development. We call it development engineering, and that's the form of development that we have.
Okay, because I bombed the interview about a year ago.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot since then.
Right.
So I already have a lady in my email that I can reach out to after I apply again, but I'm a little intimidated by that boot camp they were talking about in order to learn.
Fantastic. Well, we both went through it.
Yeah, we both went through it. Yeah, don't be intimidated.
The best thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the best thing. Just say, I'm going to learn, I'm going to study, and then you sounds like you got the chops to do it. So don't be intimidated.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
It's the most fun experience. The boot camp is the best thing, not only for the things you learn, but for the people and the relationship you build with the people that are in the boot camp with you. It's a very great experience, and is the best way to start in a new company, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Valentina, can you go ahead and stop sharing your screen?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And we'll see our faces here and say goodnight. Thank you so much, both of you. This has been so informative. So many things that I didn't know anything about, and love to hear about the specific pathways and the types of opportunities that are here, but also more about the industry and how much data really is going around. That's completely insane. So fascinating. So thank you so much for this. Everybody, thanks for joining us. And please join us again next week where we're going to talk about project management. But just to end things up tonight, Marisol and Valentina, thank you so much. And we wish you all the best. And we hope to engage with you more again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. You guys have a good night. Bye-bye.